to have everybody with us tonight. I want to. Oh, there, Terry, that's okay, Terry. I want to apologize to everybody now. If I start coughing, I'll have to mute just a minute. It's that this East Tennessee time of the year. So, but we thank you all for being here tonight. I want to thank those listening by Power Faith Radio. We'll cover about the Florida group and the coffee shop. Georgia group here, that's the coffee shop, the Georgia group here just in a minute. And but we're glad everybody's with us tonight. Those of you that are joining us or are going to join us through Simple Walk or B'nai Noach Fellowship Facebook page, we thank you so much for tuning in and listening. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments. Those that are in the open group, you can share those videos with all your social media platform. Also, it's brought to you tonight by Outreach Noah. Outreach Noah YouTube channel. Just go to YouTube and type in Outreach Noah. And when you find that, please like it and hit that notification bell that you'll be notified every time a new video goes up. You can also come to our Facebook page. Not Facebook page. Web page. Thank you, Terry, for clarifying that for me. And that's outreachnoah.com, or you can email us at outreachnoah@gmail.com. Did I get all that in, Terry?
I think you did.
Okay. I was trying to get through it without coughing.
Yeah, we had a week off there, So.
We had a week off. Apologize for that. I was under the weather or under the ship or under the boat. I'm not sure.
Well, I think our engineer got a little bit too close to the warp core.
Yes.
And something jumped out there and bit him.
Yeah. So, all right.
I had to explain to him that, he has always been and will always be my friend.
Yeah.
Only Trekkies will understand that.
Yeah. All right, Terry, you want to greet everybody while I get ready for our Tzedakah time?
Oh.
I'm not seeing the streamings coming through, Scotty.
Okay, I'll go check it out while Terry's
doing the YouTube one, but the Facebook ones I'm not getting. I keep refreshing, but it's not coming up with the starting point.
Okay, I'll go check it out.
All right, greetings everyone, and again, thank you for joining us tonight on our Outreach Noah class. Again, sorry for last week. Sometimes we just need a break. Scotty needed a break. Actually, I needed one because I had started studying this week, studying for the class and all. And as usual, I find something that's like really, I'm like, and I'm like, man, I sure like, and then I got the week to really get into it. So, the extra week to get into it, what I'm going to get to bring to you tonight, I find exciting. I hope you all will as well. So have your notes, taking paraphernalia with you there, your pens and papers and notepads, whatever you use. But greetings, everyone. Thank you for coming. In our Zoom room tonight, of course, we have Scotty and Ronald, Amuela and Bob, Thomas, Veronica has joined us, and Wendell, and Fred and Annie, Scotty's better half. Again, our Zoom room is open. The links are in the announcements for the class on the Facebook groups. If you want to just come in and join us in the Zoom room, you're welcome to do that. Scotty, you about ready?
I'm ready, and I checked those, Ronald, and it looks like we are streaming on them on my end. So you might just try to wait a minute and refresh.
While you're doing that, I'll go over and look here real quick.
Okay. And so, all right, it's good. And I think I see Chrissy coming in. So it's good to have everybody with us tonight. So we're going to start our Tzedakah time. But before I do, I want to tell you an interesting story. You can always have these stories. Excuse me. And this today, went to an apartment to work on their air conditioner. And as I got it going, the young couple caught me on the way out and said that I've known them, they've lived in the apartments for about 14 years now. And so during 14 years, you get a lot of time to talk to people. And so today they was asking me questions about what am I all about? And so I got to go in for about a 30-minute discussion with them. and I invited them to a simple walk, and I think they're coming over and listening tonight, but I know they're listening hopefully to the YouTube channel, and so be thinking about them. And tomorrow I am going to take them a little bit of literature, and so I'm just deeply passionately excited about any time I get to talk to anybody. So okay, here we go on to our tzedakah time tonight. We don't have a whole big list, but we do have a list nonetheless. So as always, we always want to remember Terry and I's main teacher, Pesach and Shira Sherbo. You know, Pesach just went through open heart surgery, and I believe he's doing well. We haven't heard any different, so we're giving tzedakah for them tonight. We're also giving tzedakah for Wendy Shepherd. We're giving tzedakah for Wendy Shepherd tonight. And William Lyons, giving tzedakah for William Lyons tonight. Also for Warwick Marshall. He's lined up for another surgery. Do we know when? Has that got lined up yet? Do we know anything about that, Chrissy or Ronald? We know anything about that yet?
Nothing at the present that I know of.
Okay, we're going to keep him on there. Also, Amuela, somebody always send. This is your. I want to clarify this and really talk about this one night. This is your dollar they sent in. It's got your name on it. You're giving this to the tzedakah tonight. Wherever this money goes to, you're the one that has put that in there, Amuela, for your tzedakah, and we appreciate them sending that in. Also for Thomas Schaus, they send in one with your name on it, and also Veronica Port. They've linked all three of you together, and they always send in that. So we appreciate that. Also, let's see, where'd I get to? Also for Mary Parsons, we're going to continue to give tzedakah for Mary for a little bit. And is Mary doing well, Wendell?
Yes. Yep. She's doing well.
And she's not having to shovel no snow. We're past that, right?
Way past that.
All right, we're past that. Great. And also, Ronald, how you doing since you've got your medication filled?
Yeah, I'm doing well, and I rechecked it recently, and it is being supplied. So I filled out another script to keep well ahead of the game in case it happens again. But it's actually been made by a different company now. So the statement from the government saying manufacturing, it may have been a transfer from one company to the other that held it up. But I just got to be careful, make sure I can keep getting it.
All
but
right.
I'm fine, thank you.
Okay, good deal. Also tonight, Terry Hayes. You know, I think I missed last time, Terry, having your name on there. But you know, Terry thought he was going to be an automobile, and he tried to put a brake hub on his foot, and it didn't attach just right. And so you know, they had to do some repacking to get that back right. But Terry's got some upcoming tests that he's going to be going through too. So we're gonna. How's your foot doing, Terry? You back in a shoe?
Yeah, the last couple of days I've taken off my open-toed boot thing and started putting my tennis shoe on. I've actually got a plate that I'm supposed to carry. It just broke the tip of 3 toes. Luckily, I was blessed that it just, you know, kind of clipped me there a little bit. But, you know, when you get hit like that, I didn't even think it did anything bad until I pulled my shoe off. And then I'm like, oh, I stepped on a landmine. Not that bad.
Oh, that makes me cringe every time I think about it, Terry.
But I'm doing good. I've got some more tests coming up following the surgery I had back in January to check some other things out. That they're actually age-related tests. They're just, my surgeon that did my surgery is actually going to do all my 50+ male tests and doing some stuff in my stomach because that was all messed up with my gallbladder. So she's going to do several different tests here at the end of the month.
Okay. Well, we're going to keep you on the tzedakah list. Also, Mike and Danielle Akins. That was a young couple I got to talk to today. And we're giving tzedakah for them tonight. And also, I just saw where Fred put on about his wife, Beth, having migraines. And so having a migraine right now. So we're going to give tzedakah for her. So, and now we've got our blessed memory tzedakah tonight. I really try to emphasize that this is especially on the blessed memory. Excuse me. Write these names down, and maybe this week sometime, if you're out and you see a charity box someplace, you would put a little bit of funds in the charity box in their name. The first one is Joe Blair. We're giving blessed memory tzedakah for Joe Blair, and then also for Logan Bryson. We're giving blessed memory for Logan Bryson. Get that in there. All right, if you would help us pray tonight. Hear our voice, Adonai, our God, Father of mercy. Have compassion on us and accept our prayer with compassion and favor. For you are a God who hears prayers and supplications. Our King, do not send us away empty-handed. Favor us and answer us and listen to our prayers. Amen.
Amen.
All right, Terry, are you about ready?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to put you on speaker view and then just turn it right over.
I do have one announcement to make of some good news, since we didn't get to have class last week. Didn't get to share this, but Saturday before last, we were at my daughter's and son-in-law's up in Middle Tennessee, and my dad had come in from Oklahoma. He was coming in because he had some family information to share, because he's been doing family research on the Hayes side, the male Hayes side for years now, since Grandpa passed away. His dad, he just started doing some research and brought us some really neat information that traces our family on the male side straight back to the Mayflower. So that was really cool. I have a 11th great grandmother that was 14 years old on the Mayflower. And so it was really neat. Her father helped write the Mayflower Compact, which was also used as the blueprint for the Constitution of the United States. So he was sharing all this stuff. It was really cool. That's good. That's interesting news. But what was really interesting was our eldest daughter, after everything was over with, and this was not planned, when she was going to share all of this, that my dad would be there. So, and my youngest daughter had been out of the country, had gone with her boyfriend to a wedding of a friend of theirs over in Latvia, over in Europe, and I think it's called Riga was the city they were in. So she happened to be just flew in, just got back that Friday night, I think it was. She finally got in. So we were all there, and my eldest daughter gets up and she says, "Well, we have some family heritage information to give as well," and held up an ultrasound, and we're expecting our first granddaughter. So they've had some problems. They've been trying for about 8 years, but the doctors couldn't figure out why they couldn't get pregnant, because both of them are medically healthy, nothing wrong. But they've gone through different procedures for years and nothing worked, and they changed the doctor this time, and it took, and they had to do a DNA test on the child to see how well everything was, and found out that it is a girl. And so she wanted to go ahead and know. And she's can't remember how many we see the Saturday before. She's about 12, 13 weeks now. And so we get to be Mama and Papa now. So looking forward to that. You're gonna make me cry. So I had Scott out. I'm sorry guys, but Scotty was the first one I called on the way home. We were all boohooing on the phone together. But yeah, so my daughter Amber and son-in-law Landon expecting their first child this year, and so we're looking forward to that new addition to our heritage line. So, all right, Scotty, anything from last week we need to cover real quick, or the week before?
No, I don't think so. There was a couple of conversations, but I don't think so. I think everything's good.
Okay. We last week we started studying the Torah on human sexuality, which deals with our prohibition as the children of Noah, the prohibition of forbidden sexual relations. And we started that last week. And if any of you haven't got to check it out, you can see going to our YouTube channel, Outreach Noah YouTube channel, and you'll see there Torah on Human Sexuality, Part 1, where we start that discussion. Well, I knew where I wanted to go for this week and what I wanted to mention, but as I got to looking into it and studying it more and more information opened up, and I've kind of taken a little bit of a different going in the same direction, but just, a little bit of a sideways to it, because I'm not going to use the divine code tonight to go through just the law side of it, that like what we've been doing, just understanding the legal aspect, what God requires. Tonight we're going to be looking into the text, and my source tonight is the Chumash, the Chumash on Genesis from Rabbi Samson Raphael Hirsch, who is a Jewish rabbi who lived about 200 years ago. And if you've heard me before, if you hadn't, he's my favorite one to study, because I love when I get into studying. He breaks down Hebrew, he takes it to different passages and the same words, and just helps you just get a really grasp of what's being said. And that's kind of what happened in my studies this week. And he's got another thing was published. He's got a collection of writings that he put out as well. And in his Chumash, it'll tell you if he's got some additional teaching on something and where to go in one of the volumes of his additional teachings, which I have as well. And we're going to look at a little bit later on. But tonight, our text, if you want to write this down, our text for the class, our primary text, we have a primary and a secondary tonight. Our primary is Genesis chapter 2, verse 24. And this is the main verse I was going to go into last Wednesday, but I'm going to actually go into a lot deeper tonight than what I was originally. So we're going to delve into these two passages. Genesis 2 and verse 24 says, for this reason, because it starts out al king. Sometimes it's translated therefore, but actually most of the correct Hebrew translation says it's for this reason, a man, and you'll see later why it says that. We're going to be getting into that, why that's the better translation of al king. For this reason, a man leaves his father and mother and clings to his wife, and they become one flesh. Our secondary passage tonight we're going to get into is Genesis chapter 2, verse 18, where it says, and God said, it is not good that man should be alone. I will make a helpmate, a meet for him. We're going to get into that. I wasn't going to get into that passage, but the more I studied, the more I'm like, I was kind of on fire this week doing my studies. I was just told Scotty several times this week I was looking forward to tonight. So I hope you all have a good time learning tonight as we delve into these two passages. Rabbi Hirsch, Rabbi Hirsch starts out with this on verse 24. For this reason, a man shall leave his mother and his father and cling unto his wife, and they shall become one flesh. He says, as long as a man was alone, which we're going to get to that here in a little bit, it was not yet good. And once the division was made, it was no longer possible for man to fulfill his calling by himself. Division. We're going to be looking at some of this Hebrew. We need to understand that when you read in your standard Western Bible English, that God took out a rib and, it's actually, it's more correct, I guess, in the English. Bob might be able to help me. It is side. He took the side of Adam. And the sages teach us that Adam was actually contained everything for man and woman, and God divided that up when he in the garden when he put Adam to sleep. And so he divided him, like he says here. He says, once the division was made, it was no longer possible for man to fulfill his calling by himself. Rather, the woman is to be, I'm going to try to pronounce this, Azer. I've got it written down here in English. Azer Kengado. Azer Kengado. We're going to learn what that word means, and this word is used in the scripture too. Actually, in our secondary verse, this particular status of this new being, of who she was, who she was. It says, without her, he is only half a man. Without her, he is only half a man. Only together with his wife is he a complete man. And all came for this reason. A man leaves his father and mother so he can be completed. For this reason, he leaves his father and mother so he can be completed. For this reason, Rabbi Hirsch says, a man leaves his father and mother and clings unto his wife, that they become one flesh. Again, they become one. They were divided, now they come together and they're one. Before the division, man's body was subordinate to one spirit, one divine will. So too, when man and woman are reunited, they become one body. However, they can become one body only if at the same time they become one mind, one heart, and one soul. And this in turn is possible only if they subordinate all of their energies and aspirations and all their thoughts and desires to the service of the one God. Everything has to become echad, has to become one. Husband and wife has to become one in everything, and then they become one with God. Herein lies the immense difference between the sexual life of other living creatures. On the one hand, in human marriage, he goes, let me read that again. And here lies the difference between the sexual life of other living creatures on the one hand, and human marriage, and on the other, the creatures. Other creatures also are divided into male and female. But in their case, both sexes came from independently from the earth. They do not need each other to fulfill their life's purpose. Understand, when God created the animals, when he told the earth to bring them forth, they brought forth male and brought forth female. They were separate, already separate, not together. They are not dependent on each other to fulfill each other's mission in the life that God gave them. Only for the purpose of breeding and for the time necessary for perpetuation of the species do they seek to find each other, but not so in the case of man. The woman is a part of man. She is an Azer Kengado. Now we're going to go to Genesis 2, verse 18 and learn what this is. Genesis 2:18. The woman is part of man. And God said in verse 18, it is not good that man should be alone. I will make a helpmeet for him. Before man was created, creation came to a temporary standstill as God announced that the crown of creation was about to appear. It's talking about the creation of man. This was the case now, too. Before the creation of woman, man was already there, amidst the beauty of paradise in full bloom, but God did not say it was good. Scripture does not say it is not good for a man to be alone, but rather the scripture says this is not good, seeing that man is alone. That's what this passage is actually saying. Rabbi Hirsch says, as long as man is alone, the world is still without good. The goal of perfection, which the terrestrial world is to attain through man, cannot be attained in full as long as man is alone. The completion of the good was not man. The completion of the good was woman. Only when woman was created was the good completed. For man and for the entire world. Rabbi Hirsch says, as our rabbis, our Torah teachers and our Torah sages teach us, only by virtue of his wife is man called Adam. Only husband and wife together are called Adam. The task is too great for either to perform alone and must therefore be shared by another. Hence, woman was added to man so that together they should fully accomplish the purpose of Adam. Am I going too fast on this, Scotty? Everything okay? The woman is to be an Ezer. Let me read the Hebrew, it's easier. Kenado. That Hebrew is help mate. We're going to get into the words here in just a minute. She is to be a helpmate. Even a superficial glance reveals that this term expresses the true dignity of woman. It does not carry any implication of sexual relationship. When he created the woman to provide the good half of man, does not denote anything sexual. Woman was placed into the sphere of man's activities. There she is needed, and there she is to be a helpmate, a helpmeet. And a helpmeet does not imply that woman is to be subordinate to man. Actually, it connotes complete equality and equal independence. For the woman is kenegdo, at man's side, parallel to him on one line. Hold on, let me make sure I don't need to go back over here and cover something. Yeah, I'm going to finish this and I'm going to come back. I'll come back to verse 24 here in just a second. Azer, the first part of the word, the root relates and denotes the concept of limitation. The meaning of Azer then as follows: it relieves his friend of a part of his obligations. An Azer relieves a friend of a part of his obligations, enabling him to concentrate his energies in a more limited sphere so that he can fulfill the remaining obligations more effectively. An Azer is help by the way of concentration, whereas an Azer, being the woman, denotes a limitation by force. Rabbi Hirsch goes on and says, similarly, in the case of man and woman, the woman assumes part of the obligations that comprise the prestigious task of mankind. The woman takes on, she assumes part of the obligations to fulfill the remaining obligations, and prodigious task of mankind, enabling the man to fulfill his obligations more completely. But this is probably only if the Azer is a helpmate or helpmeet, not mate, but helpmeet. The Azer should not work with him. He says he should not work with him in one place, but should work opposite of him in a different place in the same line. I know this can be a little bit confusing here what this means, but we're going to see even a little bit more as we get into this. It says, had the Azer been formed in the image. Now, this is interesting here because we've been talking about Torah on human sexuality. What we're going to get out of this passage right here on Genesis 2:18. Now, we're talking about the Azer. We're talking about that's the woman. Okay. Had she been formed in the image of an Ish, Ish is a man. It's the Hebrew word for man, Ish. Had she been formed in the image of an Ish, all the obligations of the Ish would have devolved upon him, and he too would have needed an Azer, saying, if God had created another man, that's what this is saying. If she had been another man, the obligation of the man would be upon him as well, and he would need an Azer, a woman. So you got two men together cannot complete the mission of man. In the same instance, two women together cannot complete the mission of their creation as women. Had she have been formed in the image of a man, all the obligations of a man would have been developed upon him, and he too would have been in need of a woman. Hence, the Azer, the woman, was formed as an Isha. That's the Hebrew word for woman, Isha, who stands beside him, beside man, not with him or below him. She works as a helpmeet. At another point in the same line, each one is to work in his or her own special sphere, and thus they will complete each other. For this reason, male and female, I wrote this in my notes here. For this reason, male or female, homosexual relationships will not succeed because they do not complete each other. They're two halves that don't make a whole. The only two halves, according to the Torah, according to the Creator, is it takes a male and a female to make the whole, and that is the Creator says it's good. When he added woman, he completed it and said it's good now. But as long as it's just man, he's incomplete. If it's just woman, she's incomplete. You look at, the mirror effect of that. Back to verse 24. Only the two together form a complete human being. Only the two together form a complete human being. Life in all of its aspects demands their union. Only of man does Scripture say, and cling to his wife. Only Scripture says the man clings to his wife. Only man was privileged with married life. That's a privilege. It's a privilege for the height of God's creation is married life. Rabbi Hirsch says, according to our sages in the Sanhedrin 57b, this verse 24, for this reason a man shall leave his mother and father and cling unto his wife, and they become one flesh, eludes to the Arot laws. I'm saying that in the Hebrew. He's got it written in the Hebrew. The Arot laws of B'nai Noah. That's us, the children of Noah. So what are these laws? The Arot laws are the forbidden sexual relations. It comes from the root word ereva, nakedness or uncovering nakedness. So again, let me say this again. According to the Torah Sages of Israel, this verse, therefore a man shall leave his mother and father and cling unto his wife, and they shall become one flesh, eludes to the forbidden sexual relationships that we're not supposed to have. Scripture says a man leave his father and his mother to cling unto his wife, which implies that in choosing a wife, he should remove himself from his father and mother. He should not marry a woman too closely related to him. If we take this in context with the verse, which opens up with al kain, then perhaps, or for this reason, a glimmer of light will be shed on the reason for the forbidden sexual relation laws. Because of the wife is to be an ezer of her husband, she must be a helpmeet, since she is to complete him. The wife is to complete the husband, not to be controlled, put under the husband's thumb. All that Western ideology comes from the pagans of wanting to put woman down. And when he does that, he hampers his walk with God and his walk in being able to complete who he is as a man. Rabbi Hirsch says she must have traits different from his. If a man and a woman are two close relatives, they may both have the same virtues, but they may also have the same faults. Thus, their union would serve only to intensify their common traits, both good and bad. A husband and wife would not complete each other. Only if they are not close relatives will they possess different traits. Thanks to these differences, they will together become a complete human being. When they marry, they will become Besor Echad, one flesh, and will more completely fulfill their one task. So what we see in this verse is this alludes to the laws of forbidden sexual relationships. We see that a man shall leave his father and mother and cling unto his wife. not his father's wife, not his neighbor's wife. The same thing is for the woman. She clings unto her husband and not her wife's husband and not her neighbor's husband. They are to become one flesh through procreation. These other strange relationships do not produce. So therefore they're an abomination because they don't produce. But we learn here, if we went over into all the depth of the legal aspect of this, when it talks about the father and the mother, this is, we are not to be married to any of our kinfolks, not to have incestual relationships, not to have homosexual relationships, not to have lesbian relationships. It goes on and on. All in this verse alludes to the proper relationship of a husband and wife. In the other verse, in verse 18, where it says man should not be alone, had nothing to do with the sexual relation. When he created the woman, she was to be the helpmeet, to stand beside him, to stand in front of him and face him, as we're going to see here in just a minute, and help him accomplish his task and their task together. And this can't be done through forbidden sexual relationships. That doesn't complete the will of God. That's the reason why we are brought together. It's why we're here. We're all here to complete the will of God. Now I'm going to go over to his writings because he talks a little bit more about the definition of father and mother. Father and mother is really, really interesting. Scotty, anything before I go over to this section? I know I've kind of covered it. I didn't want to go too fast, but at the same time, I kind of get excited and read fast. Because this study that Rabbi Hirsch has done, and I know I'm probably not doing it justice as I've studied it from his words and being able to sit and look at the Hebrew and contemplate on what is actually being said has been really on my mind all week. It's just been amazing. Rabbi Hirsch goes on, he says, the term for mother in our divinely given language is im. The term for father is av. But note that the letters aleph mem can also be read as, and he's using aim and some other words. The mother is the if, the indispensable prerequisite for the existence of both physical and spiritual of the child. According to the Hebrew, the mother is responsible for the existence of both the physical and the spiritual well-being of the child. The first mother of all living, I found this very interesting. The first mother of all living was not called Chaya, the giver of physical life. She was not called that. Her name is Hava, the giver of spiritual life. Thus, in thus naming her, the first man implied that she was the one that animates the spirit. And Rabbi Hirsch connects this with Psalms chapter 19 and verse 3. Psalms verse 19 and 3. It says, day following day utters speech, and night following night conveys knowledge. In the Hebrew here, we have where it says conveys knowledge at the end of that passage is Chaveh dot. The first woman's name, Chava, conveys dot knowledge. So her name wasn't Chaya, the giver of physical life, but her name denotes the one who animates the spirit. She, who with the same sense of tact and refinement can set the standards of decency and morality for her offspring. So we see here in the name of the very first woman is the one who sets the spiritual aspect, the spiritual life of the offspring, and also sets the standards for decency and morality within the family to the offspring. Rabbi Hirsch says, indeed, the word of God too makes it appear that the spiritual and the moral development of an individual depends primarily on the spiritual and moral influence of the mother. I just found that so interesting. I mean, I already knew because, the studies I'd had in the past, the importance of the woman in the Jewish home. A lot of people they think, oh, they've got their heads covered and they can't do this. They feel like they're under a burden. I've heard people actually say Jewish women are under a burden. No, you don't understand. When you talk to a true Jewish observant man, that woman is the queen of the house. Matter of fact, he has more commandments to do because he's of a man. Her commandments, the mitzvah of a woman, of a Jewish woman, is the house. She doesn't have to be at the temple or the synagogue for prayer and activities. Her job is to be there with the kids, raising them, teaching them. She doesn't even have the obligation and the command to pray as the man does. See, the man has to be at certain times of prayer in the Jewish home. He has to pray 3 times a day. These are mitzvahs. These are commandments. But hers, it is not. Her commandment is the home. That is her biggest duty. Is the Jewish woman is the moral and the spiritual atmosphere in the house and in the upbringing of the children to pass it to the next generation. And we can learn from that because the woman, and just like my first teacher taught me, he said, how do we know that the woman is the most spiritual in the relationship? It's because Adam was created outside of the garden, the obtain of holiness and righteousness and sacredness, and brought into it from the outside where the woman was created inside it. She has a closer relationship to it. And that's why when he created her inside, he created her as the Ezer, to be the help meet, not to be under the man, not to be over the man, but to help him fulfill his obligations. And most of us who've been married long enough, your wife will let you know, guys, if you're out of line in certain areas. And it comes natural to them because that's their job. Their job is to help us, to keep us straight, to keep us in line, to help keep us doing the duties that we are supposed to do, our obligations as men. So we can see it here as the Torah on human sexuality is so important to understand what man was in his creation, what woman was in her creation, what they are to be together, and what they are to be producing together. And so today, when we look at today's society and we see all this mixed up mess, there's such a spiritual confusion that is on the earth right now. You know, I saw a video the other day of this young woman in her 20s standing before a court. Her parents, because of the nature, I guess, of the people they were around, decided to have biological surgeries done, had mastectomies done to her when she was young, given her hormones to produce more male attributes because they wanted a male and not a female. And she's standing before the court saying, I can't get out of bed for the pain because of the hormones. My breasts are gone. I cannot bear a child, though I want one now. We don't see the side effects of what is craziness that's going on in this world right now that's going to produce in these children, you know, years from now, 15 years, 20 years from now. There's some that's already expressing this and coming out, telling the damage. That's because we have a confusion between the role of a man and a woman as a man and a woman, as a husband and a wife. And we need to be praying for our individual nations and our communities. But not only that, we've got to learn to begin to become active. And sometimes, and these things, it's going to be hard because there's a major attack that goes on when you step out right now, when you stand on the Creator's word. But if you're going to be the ish in the isha, then we've got to, because God did not create ish in ish or isha in isha, because they would have only been two halves that doesn't complete. Only the ish and isha are the two halves that become a whole. And God said that was good. And so this is why it's important to understand what the Torah teaches on human sexuality, and not to pervert it in any Victorian way, but to do it in a proper God-given way as husband and wife. As we learned tonight, when God said man was not to be alone and he created the Ezer, it had nothing to do with sexuality. It had everything to do with the deliverance of the knowledge and being a helpmate to the husband, a helpmeet. I keep saying mate, but it's actually helpmeet, whichever is a Ezer. To me, now that I've learned that word, that's what I see. The woman is an Ezer, and she is to stand with her husband and be opposite of him, to be opposite of him, not necessarily together in every aspect, but opposite to challenge and not to cause fights. That's not what I'm saying. But you've got to have this, like, there's, the saying iron sharpens iron, or like if you're sharpening you got a stone and a piece of metal. They're two different materials, but they're coming together to produce something. And that's what the man and the woman is supposed to be. And once we learn to do this, and what's interesting is a lot of my Jewish friends, now this is not our culture, this is theirs. Now, there are some cultures that still do this, but I don't know anybody from those cultures. But in the Jewish realm, they have these people that help connect other people. And a lot of Jews are, assigned marriages. My very first teacher, he was 70-something years old, Rabbi David. And when he met the woman to be his wife, he was actually born and raised right here in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And later moved to, was a rabbi at a school in Baltimore, and then later moved to New York. When he met his wife, who was born and raised in Jerusalem, he called her a sabra. That's what he said. A lot of women are Jerusalem are called sabras, which means like a cactus. They're very prickly. That's what he used to describe her. But when the matchmaker set them up, he showed up at their house, the woman's house, and the father took David and sat on the couch, and the mother and the daughter sat at the table in the kitchen. And the father says, "What do you think?" And he had to look around the door and look. Says, "Do you like what you see?" He goes, "Well, yeah, I like what I see." And the mother asked the daughter the same thing. "Well, do you like what you see?" They haven't even met yet. There's arranged marriage, and that's very popular in the Jewish community. And a lot of your arranged marriages at the time when I knew David, there was like a 1% divorce rate. Their success rate was high. So they became betrothed. They never dated alone. They never held hands, and they were never alone the whole time. In a Jewish wedding, there's a room set up after the wedding that they go in and close the door because they fasted. Both have fasted that day, and made repentance of that day and did teshuvah to make sure they entered the marriage in purity. And then they go in that room after the wedding. When they go in that room, they close the door. That is a sign to the community that they are permitted to be together, that they were husband and wife. And they broke bread together. They had wine and bread and things like that. And they broke their fast together. And then they came out and they were a married couple before the community, but never did they touch each other. Neither did they, or was alone together in a room by themselves the whole time they dated. And they had been, David and his wife had been married. I don't know how, they're both, like I said, both in their 70s. And we have so much to learn there. I'm not saying that's what we need to do, because it's not our cultures. It might be someone who's listening to this, but they understand that the relationship, they don't fall in love. There's no love aspect. When Adam and Chava was brought together, it wasn't about sex, it wasn't about feelings and emotions. It was providing an obligation to one another to do the will of God. And in a true Jewish marriage, that's the way it's brought up too. It's not about feelings. They don't fall in love. They can't even be together to fall in love and have emotions. They're brought together in a totally different, more Garden of Eden style of wedding. And there's just a lot to learn there for us. And that speaks a lot on our Torah for human sexuality. Scotty, anything? I know I brought up a lot there.
Well, you certainly got a lot of chatter going. No questions, but you certainly got a lot of chatter going. I'm just going to say that right there. A couple people on the radio said, I'm going to have to listen to this again, because I've always wanted to give explanation about, I'm going to try to, human sexuality. And you have given some clarifications through the Torah and understanding of that. So they're going to, I just told them to be wise in their information. So.
Yeah. And please feel free to contact us, and we can help you with that. Cause this is what we study. We have our teachers that we study with that teaches us these things that we can go to. And, next week, I'm going to wrap up Torah on human sexuality in a discussing something that's going to be could be very controversial. I don't want to put it that way, but it's going to be good and everything. But this is one of our obligations as the B'nai Noah, as Rabbi Hirsch says, the avera, the nakedness, the forbidden sexual relationship laws are to the B'nai Noah. It alludes to that in this passage. And the Jews have a lot stricter laws when it comes to their marriage and their relationship with husband and wife. There's a lot of details that's more detailed because of the priest. And you'll see that in the passages when you read Ecclesiastes and not Ecclesiastes, but Leviticus, Vayikra. When you get into Leviticus and things, you'll see a lot of those laws. And you got to remember, when you get into the books like Leviticus and Numbers, these are primary laws for Israel. There's a few overlapping things in there, but it takes the wisdom of the rabbis to show us what is overlapping. Because if we begin to observe the commandments of Israel and they're not given to us, it actually can cause us problems, because there are things for them that is a sin that is not a sin for us. And there are things that are, that we can do that's a sin to them. And so that's where we have to learn our laws and everything. And just like I said, I'm going to be covering the law of species. Rabbi Hirsch teaches some really good on the law of species that we can learn from, staying on our side of the fence per se. But anything else, Scotty, there? I know.
No, you certainly have conversations going. I'll tell you that. So and that's
no questions on the woman and the man in their creation.
No, just basically, it looks like it's just great clarification, things of that nature, just great understanding. So, as Amuela says,
we need your light bulb thing going that you have on your those videos you make.
So okay. Thank you so much, Terry. I know this. You don't just come in from work on Wednesday and open the books and just say, okay, I'm just going to jump in here and see what comes out. It takes planning and dedication, and so we want to thank you for that.
Now, like I said, last week was really, I'm glad we actually had the break, because getting into, I hadn't planned on getting into verse 18, but my studies led me to there. And when I got into it and I see, this connects, it connects with the Torah on human sexuality that I didn't know it was going to connect with. I mean, like I said, we could go to the laws right now and have another whole class on that verse, on everything that it says. But I think that we're wise enough people that we can see, that a man shall leave his mother and his father and cling unto his wife and be one flesh. You can read what that says and what we learn from it. We don't go to, we cling to our wife, not someone else's wife, and we don't cling to another man, or another woman don't cling to another woman. See, it's all right there in that passage. You can see what that says, and you look at our society, and we have strayed away from the true Torah relationship between between man and wife, or man and woman, and man and husband and wife. And so if we can help start correcting some of these things, maybe, the evil decrees that's brought upon a nation because it turns away from the Creator won't come upon our nations. Because it's, I'm going to be getting into that here in the future. We're going to be going through a book, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that. So if those who want to get it will have time to get it. But we've got a big job to do, guys, in the restoration of what God expects from the Gentile people. He has the nation of Israel as his children to be the light unto the nations, to teach us these things. It's our job to go out and take this information and create, lawful, harmonious, joyful, productive communities all over the planet. We've got a big job to do. They were given one country. They were given one piece of land that's theirs. They have the Torah. They're to teach us it. We're to take those teachings and spread it to the rest of the planet. That's part of our duties, and that's a big job.
Big job. All right, Terry, are we ready to come to a close?
Yeah, I'm ready if it's
okay. All right. We want to thank everybody. Now, the Georgia group had 52 tonight.
Well,
and so,
welcome to the Georgia group.
You know, we have been able to send them some Chumashes, and they just told me that they bought 3 more, and they're starting a study group, and they mentioned that they are listening to a couple of teachings and rabbis going through from Ask Noah and also from Chabad. So they are on a journey. They are on a journey.
And like I said, if you got any questions, I mean, I purchased mine back in 2002, before I even got to where I'm at today. And so if you've got any questions on any of this, feel free to message Scotty or myself, because we've been through this multiple times. This is our staple. This is our foundation stone of our personal libraries. And we can help you out. And if you have any questions there, because remember, this is produced for a Jewish audience. Yeah. We're the guest. And so some of the things, pretty much majority of everything in that Chumash is not written to you as a non-Jew, but you are included, and we can help you understand where you're included and where you're not. And because it's where you're not aspect that's gotten the world all messed up.
You know, you covered that one in a class a few months back, and that's one of the things that really struck them. And so now, and they told me this here a couple of weeks ago, that as they go through now and read and study, they are learning to define whose part, who is this talking to, who is this talking about, and who is this talking for. That's
and it's the same thing for Israel. The Torah was given to Israel as their heritage. It belongs to them. But not all the Torah belongs to one single Jew. Do you understand what I'm saying? Their obligation to the Torah, like, for example, our teacher, he's Jewish, but he's not a Levite. He's not a Cohen. There are laws there for the Levites and the Kohanim that doesn't pertain to him, but they're still God's commandments. You say, keep my commandments. Well, that's inclusive of all of them, but you've got to know which commandments that belong to you as an individual. Because if even a Jew, if a Jew takes a commandment, well, that was given to Israel, I'm going to run over here and I'm going to do this. They're going to end up like the sons of Aaron. You know, they're because it specifically says there when Hashem struck them, it says they did something I did not command, and that's an important lesson for us.
Yeah. And
though he doesn't just send lightning bolts out now, but he deals a lot stricter with Israel than he does us in certain ways. But it's very important to not just read something and say, well, okay, it says here that I should do, that it says to do this, and I'm going to go out and do it. Seek some advice on that before you do.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, Scotty.
Had to get that cough out of the way. So, all right. We want to thank everybody for listening tonight. The coffee shop group had 15 tonight. We want to thank them for listening, and well as others. And those of you listening tonight by via either one of the Facebook pages, B'nai Noach Fellowship or A Simple Walk. A Simple Walk, you can share those videos. But please, in both of those, ask questions and like, subscribe. Also for our Outreach Noah, it's brought to you by Outreach Noah. you can go to Outreach Noah on the YouTube and just type in Outreach Noah, and you'll go right over to our channel. You can subscribe to that channel, hit that notification bell, that you'll be notified every time a new video goes up. Please email us at outreachnoah@gmail.com. Visit our webpage, outreachnoah.com.
Hey, Scotty.
Yeah.
Just, you know, we've got the Georgia group and the Florida group, and you saying everyone else. Just for tonight, how many's logged in to Power Faith Radio?
Almost there. 69,242 people. Now that is streams that are open.
So greetings, everyone.
Greetings.
Thank you for joining us.
So somebody asked me a while back. I remember when I first got 300 people listening. This is back. I didn't realize how long I have had Power Faith Radio up and running. And I remember when it got to 300 people, I thought that was good. I tend not to look at the numbers now.
No, I know but you mentioned like in others, so others will know that others are there.
Yeah. I had somebody contact me and how Power Faith Radio is set up, just like the radio station you used to listen to in the car. Some people still listen to that in the car, and it's not a podcast holder. It's only a stream, just like a radio station stream. So I had somebody say, well, I want to send you my stuff and let you just put it on there so they can listen to it anytime they want to. And I said, no, if I put it on there, of course I listen to it. And if I put it on there, this is the time slot for you. You ought to tell everybody your time slot. And they don't ask for money. Nobody asks for money. They'll ask for charitable donations for charities. But nobody personally comes on and says, hey, I need such and such money to keep me on the air. That's not what happens here. So, okay.
All righty.
As Veronica would say, I have to go lock my infamous gates. So we'll see everybody next week. Bye-bye.